Hey everyone, it's Roary. Hey, thanks so much for being here. I am super excited to show you guys this. I've been working on this for a while now. This is my Immersive Pads Sample Pack. And this has been probably well over a year in the works, maybe even a little bit longer than that, since a lot of these sounds they weren't sounds that I meant to create as a sample pack. A lot of these actually came from my own songs. So they came from things that I was genuinely inspired by. And I have over the years found that I tend to spend a lot of time on just the ambient sounds within a production, the things that create just the mood and kind of swirl and hang out in the background. And so I think that's kind of what inspired me to make this pack, was because it's something that I genuinely loved spending a lot of time on. And I think whenever we hear pads, at least before I started making my own, I think whenever I heard a pad, it was like, oh, that's the boring thing you put in the background that just kind of goes, "Bah," and there's not a much of character to it. And so I think maybe that's why I enjoy making pads so much, is because I've never been able to find a pre-made pad or a patch that quite had the amount of character that I wanted to it. So I think that's really what inspired this pack. I wanted to give you guys a little walkthrough today of just some of the things that you can do. Now, this video is definitely more geared towards the producer, the composer. We're going to be in Logic and talking about how you can use these pads in a score capacity. But I also have a video, a couple videos of how you editors and filmmakers can use this inside of Premiere, Final Cut, that sort of thing. So I'll make sure and link that so that that's a little bit more for the visual people. But for the composers, let's dive in. And I wanted to show you how kind of versatile this pack can be. Again, like I said, when we think of pads, it's generally something we think we just throw in the background, adds a little something, but we forget about it. And this pack can be that. It definitely can be that, because that's most of how I use it as well when I'm in a songwriting session or when I'm scoring alongside a piano line or a guitar line, and I just need something to create a little bit of mood and space behind it. You use one of these pads, you're good to go. But I wanted to take the challenge and actually create kind of a whole trailer. I wanted to make a trailer using just these sounds. And for the most part, that's what I did. The drums in this trailer, if you guys have seen it, we're going to walk through it. But the drums in this trailer did not come from the pack, but everything else did. So let's walk through this trailer, walk through a little bit of how the pack is organized, and just show you guys some of what I think are some of the creative possibilities that you can do with it. So let's jump into this trailer, and then we'll go from there. So as you can see, I used a bunch of, like I said, other than the drums, everything is from the Immersive Pads, the full pack. So every sound that you hear in here, you're going to be able to get from the pack as well. Let's real quick walk through just kind of how I have this laid out, because I think it's important to kind of know what each piece does. So when you open up the pack, you're going to see 4 folders: Immersive Hits, Immersive Pads, the 5-minute version, Immersive Pads, 30-second version, and Immersive Swells. So these two packs, or these 2 folders right here, are basically mirror images of each other. But I wanted to make sure that the format was something that was usable for, like I said, a bunch of different creative disciplines. So some of the early beta testers, some other producer friends of mine that used this pack, were actually live performers. And so this 5-minute version, they were actually able to drop into Ableton sessions. If you don't have a keys player, you're playing live, you've got the 5-minute version of these pads. You can just drop into an Ableton session and you can play along like a live track or something. Or if you're, like I said, or if you are working on a longer form score or something and you don't want to have to keep copying and pasting a file to meet the whole length of your song, that's what those 5-minute versions are for. For most of us working in a production, these 30-second versions are going to be great because they're just a lot shorter, a little easier to work with. The immersive hits, these are really moments that are meant to punctuate something, either the start of a section or a moment that has nothing going on, and we'll show that in the trailer. And the same with the swells, that's meant to create kind of like some excitement into a moment. A lot of the times when I'm composing and making songs, I hear things in moments, the beginnings and ends of sections. And I don't always love doing just a cymbal swell or something like that. I like to have something that tonal that has like a mood and emotion to it, but still creates that tension. So that's a little bit of how the pack's laid out. Let's jump into this session and show you how I composed the trailer. Now, all these pads are in the native key that I created them in. Like I said, a lot of these came from scores and things that I've worked on over the years. So they really are not just one sound. They're created with a big layer of sound. So they are creative in their own native key. You don't have to be familiar with music theory to use them, but it is helpful to know a little bit about just some of the scale structure, because one of the things I did for this is I picked a key for this trailer and I instantly I took all my pads and I changed them to the key of the song. So they were all in the same key, and that just made them really easy to work with. But let's walk through some of the sections that I did with this trailer. And again, I think one of the things that was so fun about this is taking a static sound, a pad, and then using that as the basis for a trailer that had excitement and momentum and motion to it. And that was kind of the challenge. And it was a fun challenge for me too, because normally I'm pulling up a piano or some other instrument to try and do that. And I was really limited by only the tools in the pack for this. And so, man, it was really fun. I'm really excited how this came out. So to start, anytime I'm using this pack, this is pretty much what I do every time, is I find a baseline layer. So this first sound, this headphones pack, again, I transposed it down five semitones. Again, sorry if I'm spitting music theory to to some of you who haven't jumped into it. Again, you don't necessarily need to know all that. So I went ahead and transposed it down, and then I picked a couple of. I've had this idea of, I want to, right off the bat in the intro, I want to show as many of the sounds in the pack as I can in a way that still feels like it's part of the score. So I just went and picked about 4 or 5 sounds and just chopped them up. But then I added them alongside this kind of baseline pad, and it helped it not feel so choppy. So, and every good trailer's got to have like a build up and a moment for text and quick screen grabs to happen. So that's where I started pulling in some of these one shots. At one point they were called one shots. I've retitled them now. They're the hits. But where I started pulling in some of these hits and swells from the other folders. So we've got this one piano sound. And that was the basis for this section right here. Something to cut to. So that's my first build, but I wanted to get to a more exciting portion of the trailer. So my second build needed to kind of really start dialing in some energy. So I found some bigger sounds. Big swell here, and used this dark boom hit because it just had a little bit more punch to it, and was going to pair well with some of the drum hits that I had. So again, took this concept. I decided, I was like, I'm not going to have a melody. I'm not going to have a hook. So the sort of theme for this piece is going to be chopped up samples. So this again kind of nods to that musical idea. Added a swell right here, create some interest and tension. And every good trailer needs like a big swell and a boom and like a bass hit or something. Now, I didn't have a big sub hit in this pack. But again, the rules were I could only use this pack. So what I did is I actually took this tunnel boom from this other section. I pitched it down, and then I just created a pitch ramp so that it would. So it created a little bit of that sort of hit that trailer, the slow-mo, I guess, Michael Bay Transformers effect. Not quite that, but you get the idea. So that brings us into this final section, which I really wanted to feel kind of as motivated and big as possible. I knew I wanted some big drums in there, but it needed to kind of stand on its own and not just be the drums that were driving it. So first thing I did is I actually created a bass line. Again, I used this tunnel boom, but I just distorted it a little bit and chopped it up so that it felt like a synth bass. So that created the bass line here. So we've got some pulsing momentum here. For my pad layer, again, when I took this headphones pad that I've used before, and I added like a side chain to it, like something just to kind of give it some motion, give it some pumping that would move alongside that bass line. I wanted something that felt like a choir. And while there's not necessarily any specific choir in this sample pack, I did have this sweets pad that if you listen to it, it has like what sounds like some vocals kind of baked into it from some of my old vocal sessions that I've done. And even a lot of my own vocals are in there that are just affected and sent through reverbs and all sorts of crazy stuff. So they're kind of just like swirling around a little bit there. But what I did was actually chop it up so that I could create again, something that pulsed along with that bass line. And then again, we've got a little swell right here. To push us like in and out of the trailer. So that's pretty much everything that's in here. Like I said, all these are from the pack. And this is probably a way exaggerated version of what you would ever use these for. Most of us are going to just use these in small pieces alongside a piano line or alongside a guitar line or string section. But I think you can see that it does a lot of different things just depending on how creative you want to be. So thanks for taking a look at it. If you ever have any questions or just want to reach out and show me some of the things that you've done with it, I always love to hear from y'all. And yeah, thanks so much for checking this out, and we'll catch you soon.